Did you allow your users to use TouchID to authenticate to log into your app? Now if you didn't, then you missed out a huge feature in iOS inside the iPhone. So let's do that in this video. Let me show you how to use TouchID to authenticate to allow your users to log in and sign up into your app. Hey everyone, it's Duc, founder of Developers Academy. We will teach you how to become an iOS developer, create the world's most beautiful and powerful iOS apps with stunning animations and delightful transitions. Now in this video, in this episode of Code Hangout, it is number 27, I want to show you how to use TouchID to authenticate your users. So let's do this. Let's download the starter project right down below with the link right down below. You will need to submit your name and email because as always, I prepared the starter project for you, and also I have another iOS course that I prepare for you as a freebie as always in every episode of Code Hangout. So definitely submit your name and email there so that I can send you another iOS course I just create for you. So let's download the starter project and get started. Alright. The first thing we will need to do in order to use TouchID is to import a library called import local authorization. So local authorization like this, authentication. Okay. Now scroll right down below inside the courses table view controller. The starter project will have a lot of classes and a lot of details and coding already created for you. But all I want to do in this one is to show you how to use the TouchID feature to authenticate your users to log in and sign up. Okay. Now when you click to log in, there will be a kind of like alert view with the thumbprint inside that, and you can put the finger on into the TouchID screen and then you can scan your finger. Okay. So I already create some of these for you. Inside the login click, it is an IB action. When the user clicks into that action, that login button, then we will authenticate using TouchID. Okay, we will authenticate this using TouchID. And in order to do this, first we will need to have something called Authentication Context. It is auth context equals to LA context. Now auth context and context is an object that this one is responsible for us to ask for a request to use TouchID, to ask for the authentication status and a lot of other things. So this context, it performs all the things you need to do about TouchID. Okay. Next, we want to have a reason to show the user why do I want you to enter your finger to use TouchID. And for that one, I will use auth reason, which is maybe something like, it is a string and it's something like please use TouchID to sign in Developers Academy. Okay. And then we have var auth error, which is NS error. Like this. This error is an instance, a reference to NS error. And with this one, we'll have the error if there's some errors happening to TouchID. Maybe the user doesn't have TouchID device. Maybe TouchID isn't registered yet. Maybe the user wants to enter the passcode instead. Okay, there are a lot of other cases, and we will talk about that. So first, I want to check if the auth context it has evaluate policy. It will evaluate if the device has TouchID or not. So if auth context dot can evaluate policy, which is LA policy dot device owner authentication biometrics, which is the fingerprint, and then the error we will pass in the memory address of the error. You don't have to of the auth error. You don't have to know about the nitty details about this. Only it is kind of like a reference to the error. Okay, it's just an old way in. I think it's a C library or Objective-C library. All right. So in this case, if the user has TouchID, then we will do something. We will authenticate the user using TouchID. Otherwise, we'll have the else block first, so that later on we will not forget about that. Otherwise, we will have an error. We have an error. Okay. So if it is the case that we have the error, all we do is maybe we do something like print the auth error dot localized description into the console. Maybe you want to do something more sensitive, like showing an alert view or something. Okay, and then maybe you want to do show the normal sign up screen. Okay, or login screen. What it is, it's just an username and then a password field. Okay, every app that if you want to have the login sign up screen, you should have that kind of like secondary login and sign up screen if you want the user to log in and sign up. Okay, so if we can evaluate that policy, we can use TouchID. Let's use TouchID. Auth context inside this if block. Auth context dot evaluate policy, and this is again LA policy dot device owner authentication biometrics with biometrics. Localize this reason is the auth reason of here. Okay, and so that's our reason. We will tell the user that please use TouchID to sign in into Developers Academy. Okay, and by the way, Developers Academy is the academy in which I create a ton of iOS courses for you to start to learn how to develop real-world applications in iOS, okay, with beautiful design and stunning animations and transitions. I hope that you will join us someday, but let's focus on this. Now we have this reply, and I want you to pay close attention over here because there is some other ways that I see a lot of people get wrong about this. It's not wrong, but it's not the right way to do that, and it's very dangerous if you did wrong. Okay, so we have the reply, which is have the success and error. Okay, if we successfully authenticate the user to use this, authorize the user to use this, then we can do something like print that authenticate successfully. Okay, and then maybe you want to take the user into the app, into his or her account. Inside this one, I want to take the user into maybe the program tab. Okay, let me show you the app. Maybe I want from here log in, and then the user will log in, put in his or her thumbnail, thumbprint, and then goes to the program. Because with this app is pretty simple. I just want to show you that we want to do something UI related in here. Okay, we want to do something, want to deal with UI code here. Okay, now pay close attention over here. This block of code over here, the reply is a closure, and this closure is executed in a different thread, in a private thread, not the main thread of iOS. Now iOS has a lot of thread, which is kind of like a buffer that each statement will go into a queue, and it will be executed. Some thread has higher priority than other threads. The UI thread, which is the main thread, is the highest priority in iOS, and UI code in iOS is only be dealt with in the main thread only. Okay, if you want to deal with the UI code in here, you have to go back into the main thread. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Now, how we can use goes back into main thread? We have a lot of ways to do this, but I just personally prefer to use dispatch, Grand Central Dispatch. Okay, dispatch async, dispatch get main queue, and then this is entered. We have a block. This block, inside this block is the main queue, the main thread. So with this one, we can now execute UI code in here, and with this one we just use self.tab.controller.selected index to be maybe true, which is the programs tab. Okay, that's all I want to do. Just goes into the programs tab. Okay, there's only one thing I want you pay close attention is you must go into the main queue. Okay, it's the same as you deal with things like JSON passing or core data. There's a lot of people they do not go to the main queue, and then when their app crashed, there will be some very cryptic errors, and it's hard to explain. Okay, so it goes back into main queue whenever you deal with UI code. Next, if we successfully do this, then we will have the user goes to our app. But what if it is not successfully? There's some error about that. We should also handle the error case also, right? Now, else, if we have an error, then we will ungrab that error. If let error equals error, we will bind that error. If we have that error, then maybe we want to go back into main queue and report that TouchID error. There's already a method I prepared for you here. All it does is, maybe I will uncomment this one, you can uncomment those. All it does is we'll have to pass in an NS error of TouchID, and we'll compare that with some of the cases in LA error, which is a class that wraps around all the errors of the local authentication. Okay, and there's a lot of things that are going on here. Maybe things like authentication failed, not the right fingered, passcode not set, authentication was cancelled by the system, the user canceled that, or the user wants to enter the password instead. Okay, now this again of the main queue. So if you want to use the main queue, dispatch async dispatch get main queue and the block, and then we'll do self.report TouchID error, and then we'll pass in the error. Okay, maybe you want to do something else more sensitive instead of just have the prints like this. Okay, but I just demo for you. Alright, cool. And believe it or not, that's it. Let's run on a device. Now you will need to run on the device because you don't have a TouchID onto a simulator, right? So let me open QuickTime here. Alright, so here's our app. I run on a device with TouchID here, so we can still scroll around with our app with all of our courses at Developers Academy. Okay, now when we click into this login button, there will be a kind of alert view to shows up and ask for TouchID. Notice that this string of here, please use your TouchID to sign into Developers Academy, which is the authentication reason we have the string right there, right? I have two fingers that this finger doesn't register with TouchID, so when I do this, it will says try again. There's a wrong thing, okay? And it has the animation, it will squeezes like that, okay? If I use the right finger, then it will be authenticate successfully. Cool? So that's it. Alright, hope that you enjoyed this video tutorial. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to post it right down below with the comment section. I will reply to all of your questions. Now, remember that you still need have another iOS course for me that I prepare for you inside your inbox. Go back there, check your inbox to check it out, our new course as a freebie for you for checking out. Thank you for checking out Code Hangout. Now, comment below, share with us, what would you like to use TouchID in your project? How would you like to do it? And if you have any difficulties, just ask and we will get back to you and I will try to reply to you, okay? As always, go out there every single day of your life, learn new things, craft your ideas and contribute to the world.